Welcome to How's Your ePresence on Business Radio X. This show was produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and CEO of that firm. We are coming to you live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Sonesta Gwinnett Place Atlanta Hotel. So, How's Your ePresence is a show designed to help business people and companies just do social media better. And, you could ask, why is that so important? And maybe you're one of the folks out there that, I may not really get social media yet. Well, why is it important? It's because you need to stay relevant today. And one of the ways that you stay relevant is by staying on social media and being active and engaging on social media. If you're someone that is in your, let's say your 50s, you want to be relevant, well, you better jump on social media and make sure that your audience sees you as relevant. You can also stay on top of a lot of, various forms of digital marketing here, listening to How's Your ePresence, because we're always talking about some of the changes that are going on in the social media world. So we want to help you stay on top of the game. So listen here, we'll do what we can to give you the tools each and every month that'll help you do that a little better. Our company ePresence manages social media for you, the individual. ePresence can launch a social media profile for you. Why? Because that's where business is done. Business is done on an individual basis. In fact, when you meet my guest here today, he and I wanted to have a face-to-face talk because we were curious about how our businesses would interact. We did not do this just over the phone, but you can see through social media, we were able to build a rapport even before we met up, because people do business with people, and people interact online with people. So get active online, and you will find that social media will help you achieve some of your goals. Now, when it comes to ePresence, you can find us online at epresence.me. That's epresence.me, because it's all about you. Check us out there. You can see a lot more about how our firm tries to achieve the mission of helping you be more successful on your own social media. Now, if you would like to ask a question about social media anytime, anywhere, hit me on any of the social media platforms that are out there. My handle is easy. It's ePresenceMG. And it's the same everywhere. I call it my universal social media handle. So this is true on Twitter. It's true on Facebook, on LinkedIn, you name it. You can find me using that handle, ePresenceMG. But I will tell you this, you want the fastest response? Hit me on LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. So ePresenceMG, shoot me a message anytime, and I will be happy to answer that question. And you know what? If it's a good question, who knows? I may bring it up right here on the show next month. So today, what is today all about? I've got this awesome guest here. There's a thing, and some of you that have listened to the show a lot know I like sports. And this guest is an athlete. He's a guy that loves sports as much as I do, and he is a graduate, post-grad of the University of Georgia, and I like that too. My guest today is Brian Fitch of the Carbon Thread Agency. Welcome, Brian.
Mark, thanks for having me.
Glad you're here, man.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the Carbon Thread Agency. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so it's digital marketing, content marketing, working with businesses, even athletes and entertainers from a standpoint of identifying the channels in which they need to best communicate their brand on.
Okay.
Especially if you're a business owner, small to medium size, franchise owner or whatnot. I always try to communicate to clients and say, hey, think of your website as your digital storefront.
That's good. That's
right.
good.
And everything you do outside of that, whether it's social, whether it's paid media, whether it's SEO, that is designed to drive traffic back to your main page. And then you educate and provide value to the people that you drive in, and you try and nurture those relationships to hopefully turn those visitors into leads and leads into customers.
So this is really cool. So you're focusing on digital media. Really, it's that personal space, kind of like us, where we're driving that personal social media. And honestly, LinkedIn is probably our number one format.
Yeah, for sure.
You are looking at something a little more diversified, right? You're going to identify where they need to be best. If it's a website, let's make it the website. I got a feeling based on the description of your clients, websites where you're going to start.
A lot of times is exactly where we start.
Yeah. They're almost their own business. So that's really cool. And do you have any famous people you can mention that you work with, or?
Actually, one of the guys that I work with now is Bakari Sellers. He's on CNN all the time. They recently just launched a show, and we're doing some things more so on like Instagram, helping them create content and things of that nature. But we worked with other athletes in various forms and helping them create content as well. And so it's just a matter of, doing what works well for them, learning from it, and then figuring out exactly how we get better and turning that around to the next client and
It's cool.
share the information and insights that we gain from it.
Yeah, what you do is you produce a very high-end product.
Mm-hmm.
You are hands-on.
Yes.
Like what we'll do is we get people active on LinkedIn, but we're not creating content. Now, I'll tell you right now, that's not our mission. We don't create content. And so, folks, you can see why Brian and I have very similar lanes. If someone came to me and said, I need a whole personal profile makeover from soup to nuts, and that personal brand is at the forefront, you're a good guy to go to, I'm guessing.
For sure. Yeah.
So I hear you have a podcast.
I do.
So tell me about this. I think you're a co-host or something like that.
Yeah, it's called the QB, and so it's exactly what you may be thinking. It's about the position of quarterback.
About the QB.
Right, about the QB.
It's a good title right there.
Yeah. And my co-host, his name is Quincy Avery, and it's obviously his first initial. And his first name is Q, and mine is B, and our producer actually pointed that
shut
out.
up. It's not about Quincy and Brian. It's about the QB.
Right.
Yeah,
But he's like, what? We should just call it the QB.
That's cool.
Right. But it's been a fun thing to do because we have, you see ESPN, you see all kind of things out there as far as, every sports analyst you sit down with, they're talking X's and O's. But what we're doing is we're interviewing quarterbacks to dig into like their mindset a bit and try to identify exactly what makes them special. And we're finding like a commonality between all of them. And we've had the pleasure of interviewing guys like a Deshaun Watson, a Josh Dobbs.
Oh, cool.
Wow. Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
We had Jordan Palmer on our last episode, who's Carson Palmer's younger brother.
Wow.
And, I mean, these guys have just been giving us phenomenal insights on.
So where do you record this?
So the first few episodes we recorded was actually right off the north side at Creative Sound Concepts.
Oh, my phone number if you need somebody to be your engineer. I'd be happy to be there.
I'm holding you to
I'd be happy to
Yeah.
sit there. And you don't want to put me on a mic. I'd be happy to. No, I'm just kidding. But it is that is really cool. Now you weren't a QB.
I was not.
Now I'm sitting here looking at you. Nobody else can see this. You're not tall enough to be a QB.
Right.
Now you
like
probably
Russell
could.
Wilson or something like that. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But
how tall is he? Is he
5?
He's under
10,
6.
5, 11.
That's right.
Pushing it. Yeah.
Well, yeah. He's a
Kyler
unique
Murray.
guy because of that, without a doubt.
Yeah.
But so your sport was
Basketball.
and you were not a forward.
No.
So you were the point guard.
Yeah, played 1 and 2 in college.
That's sweet.
Yeah, played 4 years at Morehouse.
4 years.
Yeah. I was on a partial scholarship, and
Bravo, man.
yeah, we won a lot of games. We won a conference championship.
That's cool.
Played in the national tournament, Division II. 3 years while I was there.
Well, that's notable.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, we enjoyed it. It was fun.
So you see the intersection of sports and business
All the time.
every day,
Yeah.
don't you?
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
I'm going to do a little bit of social media update stuff
Gotcha.
here, but I may want to jump into a little bit of your sports background. And some of the people that have listened to the show a lot know that I think that is a very complementary aspect of business today. If you've had a sports experience, you've played it as a young person, and you get into business, it is not for naught that you have an athletic background, teamwork, and what's that word that you use when you do a lot and you don't run out of gas? It's called it means when you work hard and you're willing to go further than someone else.
Oh, like you just give it 110% or something like that.
Yeah. So all that's
just go an
good.
extra
There's a
mile.
good
Yeah.
word there, and I can't remember what it is. I'm doing a bad job describing it.
I'm not
And on
being
live
any help to
radio,
you.
it kind of stinks that I can't remember that. But you did some other things, and just a quick highlight is you worked with Accenture. You were VP of Strategy at SunTrust Bank, not necessarily in that order. You've worked with Bank of America, PNC Bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, First Data, Blue e-cigs. I don't know that one. And Clayton Homes. And so you've worked through those, and that was with Accenture. Did you work with those folks?
So all the banking experience, a lot of that came from Accenture. So that was actually the first introduction to like the digital world for me.
Gotcha.
A lot of the projects that we worked on was around digital transformations, and it was banks just trying to figure out, how do we adapt in this new environment. And a lot of what we were doing was twofold.
Fintech is tough.
Yeah, fintech.
There's a lot going on.
But they're
there.
a little bit more advanced than just like your traditional bank or your credit
Sure.
union or something like that, or your community bank. But they were trying to figure out how to introduce more self-service channels into the branches. And then at the time when I was working with Accenture, they were also trying to figure out how to communicate to clients on Facebook and communicate to clients on Twitter. And considering all the regulatory things you have to be mindful of when you're dealing with financial information and personal information. Yeah,
that's
it's
a very good point.
very sensitive thing that you have to be mindful of. So we worked with a lot of banks to guide them through that process.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
We have a few financial analysts that are clients, and we don't touch finance on their feeds. We may post something from the approved corporate site when it comes to finance. The rest of it is puppy dogs and kittens, right? It is just building their brand out there, because you can't go wrong talking about puppy dogs and kittens unless the dogs are investing their money.
Sure.
So you got to be careful there. Well, let's talk a little social media stuff.
Okay.
Look, checking out the time. I've got 5 or 6 minutes here. We'll jump into new updates going on since last month. The first thing I've experienced this, and Brian, I'm kind of curious if you're on LinkedIn, you find out that LinkedIn's just acting silly. LinkedIn really is kind of a goofy site at times. And I was talking to a good friend who's well versed in LinkedIn, and we both feel like LinkedIn is kind of like, it's definitely the stepchild of where Facebook is. Facebook has a gazillion programmers. They're constantly working on ways to make it better, and it's the way Facebook works so seamlessly is from a gazillion of investment dollars and R&D and A/B testing, the whole bit.
Yeah.
So I want to mention this because if you are on LinkedIn and you're trying to post on LinkedIn and tag someone, this happens to me all the time. So after the show, I will post something and I'll tag you in it, Brian. And I'm going to have a hard time tagging you. I'm going to put the @ sign. I'm going to start typing your name. You and I are connected on LinkedIn, and it's not going to pop up for some reason. And I'll end up backspacing a few times and trying it again. So that is just part of LinkedIn's environment. For those of you that struggle with that, it's not you. This is just simply LinkedIn. It's a little squirrely at times, if you will. But remember this: LinkedIn's reach is huge. Their organic reach is fantastic. What is organic reach? It's the non-paid reach. So if you're posting something on LinkedIn, you can reach a lot of people. LinkedIn is still pushing that out there. So great. If I'm going to, the question is, you've got organic reach. How do I make my post that's organic reach even more people? And there's a couple tips, and I love highlighting this. Number one, you want to make sure you're posting something with a photo. You want to make sure you're tagging the people in it. Organizations, tag the organizations. That's great. Do some hashtags, but do not put a link in the post. Don't put a link to an outside article. Don't put a link to somebody else's website. As soon as you drop a link in there, LinkedIn sees it as not as important. They don't see it as you're being genuine. It's the way the algorithm figures out that you're truly interacting.
Yeah.
So as soon as you put a link in, you're not going to reach as many people. So take the link out or put it in comments. So this is a trick, the LinkedIn hack that I'll do. I went in, I shared 2 different articles at a time. Both of them from the Wall Street Journal.
Okay.
And it was on they're both about social media, so very similar lanes. And one, I put the link in comments, and the other one, the link was normal, just as a post in the body of the regular post. I tripled my reach on the post that had the link in the comments. So, quick trick. I'm not saying do this all the time. It takes a little extra time, but do that if you have something you think that you want a lot more people to see. And another good hack is if you know someone else on LinkedIn that has a ton of connections. I would work on building a relationship with a series of people that have a lot of connections and ask them if they will make it a habit of liking your posts and you'll like their posts, because you'll end up pushing it to more audience members by you'll engage their audience. All they got to do is like it. You can comment, that's good, but like it. Don't share it. Never share a post. Only like or comment on posts. And it will help push your post to show up in all of your connections feeds, because LinkedIn will say, oh, this is really important. And you've got some people you interact with you got people you interact with all the time. So, for example, you post something, I see it.
Yeah.
But if you post something, the person that you never interact with may not see it, even though you're connected to them. But the more people that like it and comment on it, will push it into their feed. So that's a quick way to make sure your organic reach is optimized.
Yeah, for sure.
one of the things that I'd love to pass on to a new topic here, one of the things I'd love to ask is this. If any of you out there are seeing good analytical sources for LinkedIn, I'd like to hear about these. So here's an example. There is a new system, and I'm not going to mention here today, but there's something I'm using that helps give me analytics on individual profiles. That's what I'm looking for, because LinkedIn doesn't give you that automatically.
Right. Yeah.
So anyone listening, if you have something that works really well, I'd like to get your feedback. Drop me a note. Of course, you can hit me on LinkedIn. I'm at ePresence MG. I'm looking to do some research to find a better way to provide analytics on the personal profile. So send me whatever you got. I'd love to hear more about that. And I'm gonna do a shameless plug here. We're gonna do a show that we do have some shows that we do outside of the Business Radio X office. And one of my prior Business Radio guests was this guy named Adam Shapiro. I should introduce you to Adam. He's a cool dude. His company is Sales Reform School. He is. I've talked to a lot of people that do this kind of work. I think Adam's pretty brilliant. So he and I are going to do 4 shows. We're just going to do 1 a quarter for the next year, and we're doing it from probably my dining room, and drop that information coming up. So look for that. Our mission is this: we want to push people to the edge. We kind of want to piss people off. Because that's how people learn sometimes, right? Did you ever have a coach scream at you?
All the time.
Yeah, right? Pushing
Every
you,
day.
trying to make you your best.
Right.
We think that there's some things out there in the business world that people are doing that are just stupid. And we want to sit down and say, you know what? If you're doing X, that's just stupid, right? If you're on LinkedIn and you're dropping 20 posts a day, that's just stupid. And we want to talk about those things because we feel like we can help out a lot of folks. So we're going to work on how do you build revenue through good sales skills and couple that with social media. So we're going to do 4 of those shows. I'm excited about that. We're going to do the first one in September, so look for that coming up in
really
September.
cool.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun.
I want to check that out.
We may want to have you in there and have you challenge us, right? That'd be kind of cool. I mean, that's something we can do. We can bring in some extra folks.
With it. Yeah, for sure.
But he's a good guy. I'm looking forward to that. So I always, I like to push people to the edge, as I just mentioned. So I'm going to push you here. I'm going to ask you the hardest question right out of the boot.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
What is the one thing that you've screwed up in the past that you learned from? That, in fact, you look back at it and you say, I am so glad I screwed up at this because I am better for that mistake. That's a jugular question.
Yeah. So this may not be that juicy.
Yeah.
But I think,
We'll come back to it. We can ask it later.
All right,
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
But I think when you're in the space that we're in and you try to find ways to drive efficiency, sometimes you find yourself spending a lot of money on software that you don't need.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And I could think of a couple of times where that's happened, where I get it. Oh, yeah, I'm going to use all this, and we're going to, blow it out of the water with X, Y, and Z, and
bada bing, bada boom. This is gonna be big.
And then you get so bogged down with other stuff, and then trying to figure out the new crap, and then it's like,
yeah,
what did I just spend that money on?
I will tell you. Here's my problem. I'm right there with you. As a business owner, I sometimes see something I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
And I know I can buy it for the business, and I buy it. It's a waste of money.
Yep.
I shouldn't buy that. There are so many things out there. I started off by buying a printer that I really wanted when I started the company.
Yep.
I wish I'd never bought that printer. And that wasn't cheap, right?
Right.
Now I wished I bought this, it was a monochrome printer. It was great.
Yeah.
Scanner, fax. Well, who needs fax? All that stuff, right? I should have saved up and just bought a color printer. I need a color printer so bad.
Yeah.
No, I do not want to hear from a bunch of printer folks that are trying to sell me a printer. I've got the one picked out. But there's a good example. You probably ought to take a pause before you buy something. Do a little research. Ask the question, do you need it?
Right.
Before you go out and drop a boatload of money on that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good one. That's not as juicy as I was hoping. I was really hoping you'd come out and say, "Don't sleep with your secretary because it screws up."
Oh
your
yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No.
All right. Well, this is good stuff. So, you guys, and we're going to come back to the carbon thread. There are things that you do that I think are really cool, and I want to drill into that.
Okay.
One of the things that you guys focus on is how you help people find their audience. And that sounds so simple, right? I could say, oh yeah, I know who my audience is. But whenever I sit down and talk to someone who is skilled at this, I end up finding out, oh wow, there's an audience that either I may have discounted. I discounted lawyers early on.
Yeah.
I thought lawyers are not a target. I went into a couple of their offices and gave up. and I'm determining now lawyers are a really good target for me. I should have
Mhm.
stuck with it. And you could have probably said, Mark, yeah, you should be talking to lawyers.
Yeah.
How do you determine that in your org? What is it that helps you? What systems do you use to find that?
So it's a combination. It depends on the platform that we're going to be on. I think Google, just in general, is really, really good about having a ton of information on users and visitors and things of that nature, especially if you have Google Analytics hooked up to the back end.
Okay. Now let's talk. I'm going to drill into that.
Okay.
So Google Analytics, it's doing the back end work on your website.
Sure.
It'll tell you what?
So it'll largely tell you traffic sources.
Right.
Right. And so if you're running a campaign and you've tagged it, use all kind of UTM parameters, whatever it may be, it'll tell you exactly where your traffic is coming from and exactly where they're landing on the website. And then once they get there, you can see exactly how much time they're spending and the amount of content they're consuming based on, bounce rates or average time on a page. And that will honestly give you a lot of information about who's coming to your website. And it'll give you a good amount of information on exactly whether or not your content is compelling and it's keeping them there, or if it's very intense. Yeah. And so it may not necessarily be at times, this audience member in particular, but it is a good starting point to see exactly where traffic is coming from, what they're doing on your website, and why are they leaving, and how much time they're spending there.
It's a big issue.
Yeah.
Especially if your website's driving a lot of business to you.
Right.
So that's a good start.
Yeah. Obviously, Facebook. I mean, once you go on Business Manager or whatnot, you can actually drill in a bit and see, and you can really, really drill down into who your audiences could be based on hobbies, income levels, interests, whatever it may be.
We were talking about how LinkedIn's a little bit more pedestrian than Facebook. Yeah, when you get into that back end of Facebook, you can get a lot of.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, truly, Facebook knows a lot more about us than we want to admit.
Yeah,
and it's a problem, right? And I think that'll be addressed. I see some of the things that are happening on Facebook are reactions to. We've got to make sure we don't lose our perceived value.
Sure.
But there's a lot of stuff that information they can pull from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing that I think sometimes goes overlooked is the ability for people who do have websites, and you may have some sort of know-how with how to update certain things on your website or whatever it may be. You can actually start to develop an audience based on people who you already have within your network.
Yeah.
And start to tag and segment them out based on their behaviors, based on how you're tracking them as far as like the actions that they take on your website. And then you can start to build content specifically for them. And so if you're a business that has a number of different products or services, and you service, 2 or 3 different industries, then you can start to drill down and tailor content around each of those segments within people who are already familiar with your brand.
Okay, let's do this. So you drill in, you identify an audience within, and you're going to tailor your content. Tailor your content sounds a little ominous to me, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do I tailor my content? You're going to have to. Are you going to sit down with me and put me in a headlock and try to figure out what is it that speaks to that audience? How do you determine that? I mean, there's a lot of that's the audience. How do I communicate to them?
Yeah.
Or with them, I should say.
Yeah, no, I think a really good resource for that is, I think it's called Answer the Public. Have you ever seen that?
No. Ooh, write this down.
Yeah, check that out. And what you can do, you can go out there and you can type in 1 word, 2 word, 3 keywords, whatever it may be. And what it will do is that it'll perform a search on the net, and it will tell you all the different search terms related to that particular topic and what people are asking in particular around it. What industry, I don't know if it tells you like the industries it comes from or they come from, but they'll give you a good amount of information on the kind of content you may need to be creating for your audience. Because if hey, a lot of people that are coming to me are attorneys in your case, well, what are attorneys out here looking for? What kind of content helps them, become better at their business, whatever it may be? You can start to generate topics and ideas and write blog posts around those, generate videos around that information. I think it's endless what you're able to do with a tool like that. It's extremely valuable, and it's a super cool looking website too. I love it.
Answerthepublic.com is the site. And there is there a freemium version to this, or
if you were to type in, let's see,
I'm looking for the search bar. Bear with me here.
It should be right there on the homepage.
I have it shrinked on half my screen. Okay. So let's see if we can find that. We're gonna.
Yep,
right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just didn't turn it. There's a All right, there's an old guy with glasses, and he's evidently not in Atlanta because he's got this big old fat sweater on. He's asking me to enter something. So, lawyers and social media. Is he cussing at me? He's saying
He
something
may be.
to me.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this. Yeah, and it gets. This is really cool. That's a huge nugget right there. Good. And so you use this a lot. So you find this as a good source.
Yeah, for sure.
That's for sure. That's cool.
Yeah. In addition to like Google and other things as well.
All right. I'm going to move on to another question. We've got 5 minutes.
Cool.
And you know these guys hate it when I run over, and I always do. So let's see here. How can digital performance be improved? Because that's one of the things that you guys do.
Yeah.
Improving digital performance. So we're moving way far ahead, right? We've got our content. We're rolling. We got things that are happening. How do we make it better?
Looking at the analytics, seeing what people respond to mostly, and really.
So I got a funny question.
Yeah,
I got a funny comment here, right? So you hire a digital firm. They're driving. You're not seeing any results. When you call them, they should be able to say, "This is why."
Yeah.
If they're not looking at the analytics, are they?
Yeah. I mean, that's the first place we start. Like before you can even. That's why we always start with like the strategy on the front end, because we're going out there and we're doing research. We're looking at analytics. We're pulling down insights. We're diving into those buyer personas and understanding exactly who you need to be talking to and figure out exactly where that audience lives. And then you can start to create content around that penetrates that particular market.
That's interesting. Most business people don't have time to do that.
No,
they need to hire someone to do it for them.
Yeah, because it's very intensive. Like it's labor intensive. I mean, it's a lot that goes into it.
Tell me what that means. So if you have an account, you're spending how many hours a month looking at those sort of things?
It really depends on the amount of content you're pushing out.
Okay.
Obviously, the more content you're pumping out, then the more of a sample size you'll have to pull from, and you'll have to start to analyze those different things. But I mean, if you're someone who's putting out content on a daily basis, with software now today, I mean, you can pull that information pretty quickly, and you use certain date parameters to say exactly when you ran a campaign over a 30, 60-day period.
But you still got to analyze it.
You still got to analyze it. You still got to pull down insights. And so, like one of the things that we did recently for a company here was a digital audit, and that's where we pulled information from Google, and we went and pulled information from their Facebook page, and we knew exactly where their audiences were living, and exactly what people were doing once they got to their website, and all those different things. And so after that, pulling that information is pretty involved within itself. But then making recommendations out of that speaks to exactly some of those areas that need improvement. That is where you start to really put in a lot of hours and a lot of time in making sure that it's the right thing for that client.
And you need someone who knows what they're doing, who's going to look at it and get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Brian, I want you to share with everyone how they can find you. So hit all those websites and those and your Twitter and wherever you want people to go. How can they find you?
Yeah, so our website is thecarbonthread.com.
The Ohio State University.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Carbon Thread agency wasn't available for whatever reason.
Good.
And you can find us on Twitter at The Carbon Thread. IG is the same. Facebook is the same. And so we recently just relaunched the website.
Your website's cool.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
I like it.
Yeah,
I think you guys did a good job.
And so now it's, drinking our own Kool-Aid now.
That's right.
Putting out more content on the agency that people find valuable.
That's right. You can't be the cobbler that doesn't have good shoes. Right. And that's always a struggle, without a doubt. I started off in the beginning, and I struggle with that because I don't like posting on social media in general, and so I've got my own team helping me with that. You got to make sure you're putting your best foot forward in the space that you're selling. So, well, thank you for being here.
You.
I appreciate you.
It's my pleasure, man.
For all of you out there, I just want to remind you that we are always live on the third Thursday of each month at 3 o'clock, or just remember the third Thursday at 3. But you can listen to any of our shows 24/7 by going to businessradiox.com. Select the Gwinnett Studio, and then click on How's Your ePresence. You'll see our show logo on there, and you can also find us on How's Your ePresence is anywhere. iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, even Spotify. You guys always hear me laugh. My kids love it that I'm on Spotify. Check out How's Your ePresence podcast channel for some of our other shows. We've talked to other folks that couldn't make it to the studio, like William Pate, the CEO of the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, and this guy, cool guy, Tom Ross, who is in the UK. He's the CEO of Design Cuts and is a social media powerhouse. You should catch that episode. It's awesome. So for more about ePresence, you can find us at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me because it's all about you. You can also find us on any social media platform using the handle ePresence.me. So there's a surprise. Until next time, from my guest, Brian Fitch, I am Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence on Business Radio X.